Matthew was one of the funniest guys I know. He just had this weird and wacky sense of humor, and nobody could make me laugh like Matthew. He was both amazing and someone who was pretty tortured most of his life. He was complicated, I think, because of that. He was diagnosed with depression when he was 7. And from there, he was diagnosed with ADHD and then panic attacks. And when he was 12, he started having suicidal thoughts. So he just lived his life with serious mental illness, and his chronic suicidality began to build and build and build. I never knew from day to day if he was going to be alive. I really didn't know, is this the day he's going to die? I'd lived for years with the fear and the dread that he would take his life, that he actually took his life. It was my worst nightmare, come true. The worst day of my life was happening, unfolding. There was still a knowledge that God had not left us, that we would somehow survive, and that somehow, someday, we would choose joy. And so I think that's what I remember so clearly. A lot of it's a blur. I just know I hit the ground and laid on the ground for hours, sobbing. My joy it doesn't have anything to do with what's going on here, with what's happening externally. It's all about what is ahead. It's the fact that the story isn't over. Matthew's story didn't end on April 5th, 2013. I am absolutely 100% convinced that Matthew is in heaven, that he is in God's arms. He's safe, he is secure, and I will see him again someday. So joy for me now and hope for me is not about what happens here. It's about what's going to happen. It's been a long and painful journey that will last until the day I die. I will never get over losing my son. I will never stop missing him. However, I have seen God at work in what I would consider the ruins of my life. And what I've seen in these years since he died is slowly God does what God does best. He rebuilds and restores what's been broken. And in our lives, as we are slowly learning what it's like to live again, to thrive again, to say life is good again, circumstances may appear to wreck our lives, but God is not helpless in our ruins. When I tell Matthew's story, when I tell and explain the devastation of those that are left behind, I can't even really count the number of people who have come up to me afterwards and said, you know what? My story is Matthew's story, but hearing what you've said tonight, I just want you to know I'm taking suicide off the table. I've seen the devastation that comes, and I don't want to do that to my family. When I hear things like that, I grab people, I hug them, we cry together, I cry for their pain and their suffering, and I cry with relief that there's one more family that might not have to go through what we've gone through. I absolutely believe in God's ability to bring good out of evil. His suffering was so painful and so hard, but there will be people's lives who will be saved because of Matthew.